Hello everybody, one more time. My name is Alex Centeno with Gaussian Interactive Partners, located here in the Research Triangle area in North Carolina. And today we're going to be taking a look at a technique that, as an aspiring digital media artist, should come handy in your toolbox, which is turning a black and white photo into a color photo. It's something that is not going to be as usual as the traditional technique, which is to require all your digital photography to be in full color, and then if you need it in black and white, then you of course remove the color information. Very limited amount of times you're going to see the opposite, which is the technique that we're going to see today. But it's an extremely difficult technique to actually accomplish properly because it's not that easy. And so we're going to be doing that with also touching in the technique called separation of frequencies, and that's the best way of actually accomplishing what we want to do today. So before we begin, let's take a look at our sponsor for today.
Mercados is a strategic web studio located in the Research Triangle area in North Carolina. Our focus is to help businesses of all sizes make more money through the use of strategic website design, custom digital media development, and web marketing. For more information, you can contact us at 888-525-8117 or visit us on the web at mercados.com. Mercados, creatively smart.
Alrighty, so here we are, and I have a black and white photo that is taken from stock exchange sxc.hu. And as always, we thank them very much for providing the photos for our tutorials most of the time. So this photo here has a model, and this is the technique that we're going to be using today. So I have a layer number 1 here. I'm going to duplicate it twice, Command J twice. I'm going to rename this one low and this one high. We have another tutorial on separation of frequencies. So if you want to revise that first, you're welcome to do it at this time. Basically what I'm doing is I'm gonna separate the detail of the photo from the actual color information, and in this case, since the photo is black and white, then of course I'm not going to be having color information in the low. I'm gonna have detail on the high. So first thing, in the low, I'm going to apply a Gaussian blur. So I'm gonna go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. And for this particular photo, 4.9 pixels is giving me the result that I want, which is basically getting rid of the detail on the image. So depending on the size of your photo and the number of megapixels and other variables, also like for example the number of bits per channel that you're using, the radius is going to change. So in this particular case, I'm using 4.9 as the Gaussian blur. Second thing, we're going to turn on the high and change it to linear light mode. Finally, we're going to go to Image, Apply Image, and we're going to apply the low layer in Add Blending Mode, inverted with scale of 2 and offset of 0. This is because I'm using an 8-bit image, but if you were using a 16-bit image, the results are better if you actually use the subtract as opposed to the add. All this is doing is basically generating an image that, combined with your blurred image, gives you the final result that you started with, except that now of course we have them separated. Low is really the layer that is going to hold our color information, and high is going to be the detail, as you can see. Alright, great. And so we're going to position ourselves in the color layer, which is low, and we're going to start painting. So we're going to select the color more or less of skin, and you don't have to be extremely accurate with this because you can change it after the fact. So I'm going to start with the color like this one for now. I'm going to change my brush to a soft brush, and I'm going to change the mode to color mode and about an opacity of 50% or so. And I'm going to start painting. So I'm going to go inside a little bit there in the zoom. I want you to see that I'm not being extremely careful either. You want to start with background colors first. And in this tutorial, I'm not going to be painting the wall here. The wall I'm going to keep white, so that's why I'm actually starting with the skin. But overall, the technique is to start with the things that you're going to have in the background, and the things that you have in the foreground, then you do last. That way you can adjust better the painting. And as you can see here, what I'm doing is, like, since I'm painting on top of the skin, I'm actually painting on top of the hair as well, so that's why the foreground needs to be second. Because basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to revisit those areas after the fact. Alright, and basically all I'm doing is painting. Since I have my brush set to color mode and 50% opacity, that means that the more times that I pass by the same area, the deeper the color is going to be. So I have to be careful in how many times I revisit a specific area. And of course, when you're doing this for a project, for a client, you're going to be a lot more detailed than what I'm doing here, because I don't want the tutorial to take too long. Although, of course, if you've been following us in the tutorials for a while, you know that the tutorial is never as short as I would like them to be. So. But of course, if I did this the way that it's supposed to be, which is a lot more detailed, then of course it would take even more time. So I'm just trying to demonstrate the technique here. And basically the technique is simple. It's basically grabbing a color that looks like skin, more or less. It doesn't have to be an extremely accurate representation of the skin. And basically painting. Let's go ahead and paint the sweater like a green or something like that. Green. There you go. Alright, let's do now the lips. One thing to keep in mind is that you want to make sure that you're always painting on the low layer, because sometimes what happens is automatically you start painting without noticing it in a different layer, and that of course is going to affect your results. So just keep an eye always on the fact that you want to be painting on the low layer. Alright, now we're going to do the gums, which the gums in general are usually a little bit do the eyes on a bluish green. And let's change to black and try to fix a little bit of the overflow that we're talking about. Alright, and once you're kind of satisfied with your result, then for example here, let me go ahead and get rid of this because it looks like I actually missed a little bit of the sweater. So once you're satisfied with the result, then what you can do is just add a hue and saturation adjustment layer, and so you can adjust the tone of the skin to make it more natural. And of course you can adjust different colors. For example, I can just target the green, which is going to give me the color of the sweater, and I can adjust the color of the sweater without adjusting the rest. Let's do the cyans. This should give me a little bit of the color of the eyes. And same thing with the blues. And there you have it. For the most part, in my opinion, this is the best technique to actually use for coloring black and white photos. Of course, it's never going to be as good as starting with a color photo. The more that you pay attention to the details, the more you're going to notice that this photo wasn't exactly taken with color. But it's a technique that is, at the very least, the best second option. And there are plenty of times when there's absolutely no other option, especially with photos that are very old. photos that were taken in 1960s and things like that, usually they're given to you in black and white, and so the first process is even to correct them, because sometimes the paper has degraded over time, and also they look yellowish, or they have a cast, and so correcting the photo is the first step, but then you end up with absolutely no color. And so this is a great technique to actually introduce vibrant colors to your black and white photos when there's no other option. I hope that this has been helpful. As always, I welcome your comments below in the YouTube box, and so just let us know what you think. Hopefully this has been helpful, and thank you for watching. Bye bye.